mic's on.
Just press the button.
Yep. As long as it's lit, it's on. We ready to go? Okay, meeting will come to order. Roll call, want to start with you, Vito?
Giardino here.
Jeff Weingart here.
Cindy Lewis here.
Denise Barker, present.
Hasdell here.
Reppin here.
Gary Rattle.
Who's our new person here?
Oh, Judy.
I'm Judy Reppin,
Oh,
City Deputy Clerk.
there we go. Okay, certified posting of the meeting? Cindy?
I certify that on Thursday, March 12th, 2026, the agenda for the Town of Rome Attic Solar Farm Committee meeting was posted at Pritzl, or at Rome Town Hall at 1:36, posted at Quick Trip at 1:55 p.m., posted at Nukusa Port Edward State Bank at 2, and emailed to town support at 2:23.
Thank you. You all should have a copy of the agenda. If you don't, anybody not have a copy of it? There were some that I made.
Minutes. Shoot, I don't have the agenda.
You don't have the agenda?
Thanks.
We need to approve the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so the minutes is not on here.
No, we do got the minutes.
No, I see the approval of the minutes is not on here, I think. Oh, here they go. Right, it's first, number 5. All right. Everybody have a copy of the minutes? Because there's some right there if you don't have them. Okay, this is our last meeting that was on December 1st, so it's been a while. This was the meeting that we had, which was the last one that we did. We have a meeting date for the next one, so I need to get approval of those minutes. If there's anything wrong with them or anything missing. Otherwise, I'll hear a motion to approve the minutes.
The only correction I would need to make is my name misspelled in that last paragraph. Motion at 1:10 p.m. by Denise, and it says Bark instead of Barker.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So noted. Anybody else?
Okay.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
A second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. This is our first meeting after finding out that I guess you could say we lost our battle with the PSC. Not sure that we're done with the fight, but we're here really to open forum to talk about what happened and what we might be able to do as further efforts to fight this thing. Anybody have any comments they want to make to start off? Because I know Carl's got a bunch, but anybody else before we get into Carl stuff?
I certainly do. I finally got a call back from the governor of Wisconsin's office. It was not him, of course. And she informed me that I'm not going to hear anything because he has no control regarding the Public Service Commission, even though he appoints all 3 members. I let her know that it is wrong that small towns like ours do not have the ability to object such a project coming to our community, and that there needs to be bipartisan legislation created and passed in Madison, and there's no reason when he's not running for re-election that he couldn't pursue that. I mean, I really let him know through my messaging that this is not acceptable. 31 solar farm projects applying for applications, being approved, 31 of 31 being approved, is absolutely unacceptable in the state of Wisconsin, in my opinion.
Did they happen to say who the PSC reports to if it's not the governor?
No, they did not. she was really unhappy with taking any call from me. And it took 3 times to manage getting this accomplished. But I'm telling you, it was like somebody deaf listening to the message that I was leaving for the governor. And that's unacceptable. We should not have elected officials that are completely and totally unavailable to hear from the citizens of this state.
Yeah, no argument here. I'm a little bit miffed, I think, by his statement or the statement that she made to you that he has no control over the PSC. Then who does? They're unelected.
I even mentioned that they didn't follow the federal law for the EIS to be completed. I mean, it was like it just sailed right over the head. You're not going to hear anything back. No response to my complaints. None from the governor's office. That's just wrong on so many levels for so many reasons.
Well, the legislation that is in the state assembly is still there. It's just that they're not in legislative session anymore. So I don't think they wanted to pass it this time around because the governor probably would have vetoed it. So if we get a new governor,
I don't think it's going to matter who the governor is because I think it's a matter of who's greasing whose palms with money, with favor. It's just, 31 approvals of 31 projects. There's no excuse for that when the EIS wasn't even done. And we had over 2,000 signatures objecting to this.
well, I think Scott said it very well at the meeting that we had at the hearing. That at 30, he said it's clearly a process that's not working. 30 in favor of the process isn't working, even if there were 1 or 2. But the fact that it's been none, and now it's 31 to none, that's
How
an
many more
indication.
projects are out there that,
More than you think, yeah.
it's just now, their city hall was full, I think it was last night, with the wind turbines.
Which town?
Mineral Point,
Middle Point? Yeah.
they're okay and everything. I think if Tony Evers' butt came across their thing, they'd stamp it. Approval. It's
Well,
it's
Plover's got
ridiculous.
9,000 acres going in. Day has got a couple thousand going in. Morgan's got some going in. Maple Creek. I mean, I just got a call from Kenosha. I supplied them with all sorts of information. They want to join us if there's any kind of class action or something like that done.
If you look at the storm that went through Indiana,
Yeah.
that was next year's
Yeah.
solar farm. That solar farm is destroyed. To me, we should file a lawsuit and stop it now and wait until we get the data, how much damage and contamination is done down there. I mean, I don't know if the state of Indiana is gonna do anything, but the federal government ought to. It's our town, not, it's not the 3 people in Madison's. They don't have to live here. They don't give a shit what happens here. If you don't file a lawsuit against them, we're gonna pay now or we're gonna pay later. That's the way I look at it. And the other thing is, the letter that Lori Pritzel posted from the Adams County that they posted and sent to the Public Service Commission saying they're all for our solar farm here.
Well, they're just going to work with them. They didn't say. Supposedly, they're not in favor of it, but they haven't. They're kind of wishy-washy. But they're just agreed to do a JDA.
If you drive around the county of Adams, why would they pick the heart
Yeah.
of town of Rome when you can go down the road and you can go off 13 and no homes, nothing? Why would they pick this area?
Yeah.
Something smells funny to me. They're either on the payroll with Tony Evers down there or they're getting paid from the next era.
Are you talking about the county board when you're saying that?
Yeah, they sent a
Okay.
letter.
Not the board, the county administrators.
Yeah, I think that's always been a part of this thing too, that they were in support of it from the beginning, I believe. But
To me, that's like sticking the knife in your back and giving it a little twist.
they wanted the money.
Yeah, they wanted the money.
But why destroy this area? Isn't town of Rome one of their big taxes come out of? Why would you kill something? They want to stop the growth here, good way to do it.
Short-term greed over long-term benefits.
We do need to
Wacko.
find out who they report to, because that's an interesting revelation, if it's true, if what she told you is true, that the governor has nothing to do with the PSC, even though he appointed them, then who do they? I mean, they gotta have a boss. They're not above any sort of management or oversight.
Well, and regarding the legislation, she said we should, contact our local representative, and I said, Scott's been involved,
Carl, I guess it's time to start asking a couple of questions. I want to know, now that this is approved, originally, and I'll have to sit to plead the fifth here, I don't know what the most recent documentation is on this, but I think you and I talked, they were gonna start in June or something like that, when their original.
Supposedly they have to start by July 4th, have to have construction started by then, and the project's to be completed by January of 2027, which I'm not sure that sounds correct, but that's the latest word I got.
Wasn't one of their answers to environmental concerns, particularly with the Carner blue butterfly, that they were going to avoid damaging the butterfly because they were going to start in November?
Yeah.
And I made the comment that they don't fly south for the winter; they're still there. They're just going to kill them all.
Yeah.
And so if in fact, because that was in their documentation.
Yep.
I did read that in their documentation. If in fact they start before November, are they not in open violation of documents? Wouldn't they have to then resubmit those documents to show cause that they're doing that, and they're basically going to be destroying a lot of the wildlife by going on through the summer?
Yeah, there's a lot to digest. We have a board meeting on Thursday, closed session with our attorney. This is not approved per se. They still have to have a final approval. Once they do the final approval, which is going to go through, then we will file an appeal. After the appeal, which we'll probably lose, then we have action by the court. But we do want to bring the people of the community in and say, what do you want to do? How do we fund it? And go from there. Now, one of the things, funding, which kind of be in our favor is, first of all, we're not going to let them do anything until that land comes out of MFL. And I already talked to Stan about that. I said, we're going to monitor it from the get-go. They can't touch it until the MFL's gone.
Can we stop that or slow it down?
We can just make sure that they aren't jumping the gun, starting something that when they don't have the authority to do it, we'll say. The permits and whatnot. There are some permits we'll issue, we have to. But the other thing is with the MFL, when they take it out of MFL, somebody has to write a check. It'll probably be Meteor, but they'll probably get the money from them anyway. They have to write a check for back taxes, which I'm estimating is between $600,000 and $700,000, and we
How
should
much of that would we get versus?
about 80%. Do that to fight them. I mean, that's something. Again, we have an April meeting coming out with the town, and that's something we be bringing up and say, here's a pot right here we can use to fight these clowns with. They've given us, by ignoring so many of the things that we attested to, testimony to, they've ignored so many of them. They've ignored statutes. They've ignored all sorts of things. The board made incorrect decisions based on bad data. All this issues weren't supplied properly. They actually lied about it. Somebody said I called them a liar. I didn't do that. I said they lied with two different things. They did lie about some of their stuff on the testimony, and they affirmed their testimony and said they would not change anything. Well, that's a big one. They aren't huge lies, but they're lies. I mean, they didn't have the town support. They claimed they did. They don't have the business supports. They claimed they did. Those are lies. So we have a lot to go after them with. That in mind, too, there's a lot of things we can do in the town here to make life miserable for them. And some I'll mention, some I won't. You're talking about who's getting paid off and all that. I'm going to be sending, and I'm going to need some help on this. I've got a whole list of open records requests to make. The PSC and their staff, PSC and legislators, PSC and the energy companies, the board, this board, the old board, everybody you can think of, all open records requests and see what's out there. I also purchased one share of stock in the 5 major companies, and I will request a list of all the stockholders. I may or may not get it, but down the road we might be able to force them into that. So we'll go that route too. So there's a lot we can do. There's ordinances we can put in here in place. that will hurt them. One of the things I came up with, and open for suggestions on this, but coming off of Akron, no left turn on 13. You got a 55-mile-an-hour zone. You got these big trucks going back and forth, back and forth. That's a dangerous situation. So I brought it up with our attorney. He kind of liked that one. So no left turn off of either Akron. I mean, there's things like that we can do. Somebody, I gave you all a list here. Zach came up with a bunch of ideas. Speed bumps. I mean, there's speed limits. We can drop it. We can go drop 10 miles an hour. We can go from 55 to 45. Maybe we can do something else with trucks. We can put weight limits on there. There's, speed traps. I mean, it's just dust, erosion, dirt in the roads. I mean, there's so many things we can look at and go after them with. And just make life miserable for them, or let them know it's going to be miserable for them if they want to proceed. So, while you have the list on there, anything you can come up with, we're gonna, we'll throw it at Stan and see what we can pass, what we can't. We don't want to be retaliatory, but we do want to make sure that it's a safety issue for the folks here. Pull out on the 55 zone, you're ready for an accident out there. These slow-moving trucks, cement trucks. Then both those roads were repaved recently. We have an engineer already that we're working with on our pass ratings. So a suggestion was made that we bring him in and have him do a study on the roads and see what the weight limits should be, and get the weight limits down there. So you can't bring a full-size cement truck in. So there's a lot we can still do. Again, the town's going to have to let us know what they want us to do, because it won't be cheap. So April
about
meeting comes up,
setback?
make sure you come in.
Where are we on the setback? How will we establish?
We can ask, we can't dictate. They did say that they would be 30 to 50 foot on their barrier. However,
From where?
Yeah, well,
Because 30 foot from the center of the highway, you just get
no,
to the tree line.
I'm talking. The barrier itself would be 30 to 50 foot deep. That's what they're talking. But again, somebody brought up the point that with the way they trim the trees up, that's not going to do any good. Supposedly, the PSC is going to monitor that. I wouldn't trust them as far as I can throw them. But if they go up on 13, it is pretty thick there. But on the other roads, no. It's just you're going to be seeing it. They're not going to hide it, and it's if they follow through on it. I talked to the folks up at Saratoga a while ago, and they said, "Yeah, we got barriers." I said, "Well, go take a look. You don't. You can see it. You just drive on that road. There's no barriers. A couple trees there, but it doesn't mean anything." So
Well, and where they just cleared off of
Oh, yeah.
13, you can see it from
Yeah.
13. Absolutely simple.
that's not Nextera, but it's still the same. It's the same process.
Yeah.
Same kind of operation. The other thing, just FYI, Koji is still working with us, by the way, on Channel 12 up in Rhinelander. He was on last week. I was on with him, and he's looking for more information to let us know he wants to know what we're going to do, what else we're going to do. So he's been working with us, and the kid's been really helpful. I mean, he found 100 of these best fires, and that's one of the things I really want to go after, especially in a lawsuit. These battery energy storage units are dangerous, and they're bypassing that effect. They can say all they want about the safety features, but again, Warwick, New York had 3 fires with the same safety features he's going to have here. The other thing I'll mention, we do have another thing coming up. It's called the Wellhead Protection Zone. That might throw them for a loop, because that will infringe on some of the area they want to put their areas, including the BESS unit. So they don't know that's coming yet. So if you're watching, it's coming. We're real close to getting that set into as an ordinance. And it has nothing to do with a PSC. They can't overrule it. It has nothing to do with them. So that's a water protection area, and we're working on that too. So
talk a little bit more about the start of the project. You said it had to start by July 4th or something like that, or they lose the...
I don't know if that applies to these guys or not. I don't know. Supposedly it does, but I don't know.
My question would be, if they lose that, would they still go forward? 'Cause it's
No,
still millions
no.
of
If they don't have the money, they won't go forward. Again, the other thing, you look up the information on Nextera. My wife looked up their sales numbers, and I didn't think much of it. But then I started looking. Their return is 25% on their net income to their total sales. They had $6 billion in net income on $24 billion in sales last year. Their average for the last 3 years is around 27% return. That's nuts. If I were to offer you that, I'd be in a Ponzi scheme kind of situation. So that's all from grant money.
So what about the PSC? And I didn't watch the whole thing; I just watched a piece of it. But the PSC obviously approved this thing, despite our concerns about the BESS system. So I know that they said that the system that they have designed meets all federal fire protection statutes or whatever for that system. As you and I discussed the other day on the phone, what's in those statutes? In other words, do they say you have to have minimum capabilities within your fire department as part of that? So there's one part of it that would say you have to build it to this to this set of rules with this much heating and cooling and whatever in it. But the other one should be on fire protection. So does that mean that the community in which this thing resides has to have minimum capability to fight a fire should one break out? If that's the case, I would believe that would be the case, because you can't just put something there and say, okay, well, you put it out with a squirt gun. We don't have all that. So I mean,
Nobody does. There's no way to put the fire out. Once it starts,
Right.
their training for our fire department was sit there and let it burn.
Well, looking into those codes, I would think that those codes would have some requirement for either an emergency response or equipment or something at a minimum where this thing is located. And if we have none of that, then maybe the PSC needs to be enlightened to that fact. because they testified that it meets all the codes. I don't know what all the codes are.
Well, yeah, it's not the code so much. It's the safety factors that were put in place. They're inadequate at best. Again, ask Warwick, New York, where they've had 3 fires with all the same equipment in there. Ask Moss Landing. Ask I mean, just keep going on and on and on. They just continue. So that's the big concern, is these things are not safe. They're not proven. They're not tested. They operate at a higher than normal temperature. As far as fire equipment, all they can do is pour water on the units next to them so they don't burn up and catch on fire. That's all they can do. And again, I wouldn't have our firemen out there, not with the hazardous material coming out. Moss Landing had hydrogen cyanide coming out of there. According to the EPA, it wasn't dangerous, but they were there like 3 days later to measure it. And there's other toxins coming out of there. And again, Koji found over 100 of these units since 2011 around the world. 100 that are reported. They don't all get reported either. I mean, if there's a fire there and it's out in the middle of nowhere, nobody knows about it. So it's something I think they've really overlooked, and it's something I think we may be able to really go after them with.
I have a question here, Carl. One question I have here is, you were talking about appeals. Well, there's several questions I have. Number one, has any other town gone through the appeal step?
I don't know.
Okay. Secondly,
Nobody's won, let's put it that way.
well, I'm asking,
Yeah.
who do you appeal before?
It goes back to the PSC.
So why would you go in front of the people that ruled against you a second time?
Well, you bring up the errors of their judgment. You can bring up what...
It doesn't matter. When you, like, we have an appeals board here, whenever we rule against them for our zoning ordinances. So you have 5 different eyes now, 5 different people, 10 eyes, looking at it from a different perspective. Why would they want to sit back and rule against themselves? That doesn't make sense.
Well, they may not rule against themselves, but they may require more from NextEra.
No, see, no,
But
I don't buy that.
That doesn't really matter. That's the process. Stan said once they have the final, we can do the appeal, and then once the appeal goes away, then we have recourse in courts. So it doesn't, arguing about what they can and can't do is irrelevant. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do.
I would think if the process we have an appeal, it has to go to someone other than the 3 people there.
I don't really have the correct answer for you there.
Okay.
It was my understanding it goes back to them, but I don't know.
There's some answers we don't have that we should get from maybe Scott Krug, like...
No, that our attorney will handle all that.
Okay.
Scott's not involved with that.
Okay. All right, I'm just thinking...
But maybe also, Vito, maybe they're going to get information that they can say they didn't have before. You know, if they're getting specific things, our concerns about it, you're right, they may not care, but they also may be hearing new information that they could possibly vote on and say, well, we didn't have that information before. I don't know.
I don't buy it. I feel in every case, there's always a different judge for an appeal. But
I've got some information. I Googled it really quick. Appealing a Public Service Commission, PSC, of Wisconsin decision requires filing a petition for judicial review in the appropriate circuit court,
There you go.
typically within 30 days of the final order as prescribed by Wisconsin's administrative procedures.
So it goes through an
And,
administrative law
and there's
judge.
more information here too.
So civil courts.
But you have to serve the PSC, filing the necessary documentation and requesting a stay of the decision. And it usually requires legal representation due to the complexity.
So Stan's going to take care of that.
Yeah. Well, we already discussed that. He said as soon as the final ruling comes out, he'll file an appeal.
Well, to Vito's point, though, Stan should be able to tell us what would be embodied in a successful appeal. In other words, if no one's ever tried it or no one's ever succeeded, what are we going to find? What can we say about the PSC's decision that would cause doubt in the minds of a judge in the civil court that something wasn't done correctly?
One of the things that dawned on me was that I'm guessing if we go back and look at all the documentation to the PSC from Nextera, we're going to find that almost all these permits are probably just rubber stamped. It's the same data used over and over and over again. They didn't come in here and do any study. Supposedly they used some other data, but they're relying probably on old information. They probably just using the same thing and send it over and over again, which is obviously irrelevant. It shouldn't be that way. They also have errors in there, again, saying that these BESS units fires are rare. Wrong. That's provable point that they're wrong on that. So we can use all these things that they're incorrect on to go back and fight them with if it's in the appeal process or if it's in some kind of suit or something like that. But that'll be Stan's decision. But he did say we've got a lot to go back with him after him on.
Are we able to get an independent environmental study done? If you recall, in one of our past meetings where I had spoken with a DNR representative live, he told me that they're making their decision based on reports that they were given. And I said, so you guys didn't actually set foot on the property? No. You didn't do anything field on your own? No. We just took the reports.
Right.
And I said, and if you found a report that contradicted anything in those reports, then what would you do? He said, well, then we would have to reopen the case and we would have to get involved in the differences between the two. So my point is, not that I'm itching to spend a lot of money, but I guess if we found an independent environmental person that could come out here and speak to some of the issues that led the PSC to not require an EIS, okay? That there's data that they would come up with that's different than what's in the report that the DNR looked at. That would be beneficial to our cause, I believe. At the least, it would slow things down.
Yeah, I talked to a guy last year, I brought it to the board's attention, about doing that. He said the timing wasn't good for him. In other words, he didn't have enough time to complete an EIS or even think about doing it. But he might, if we can delay it, he might still have the ability to do that. If we can get an EIS done, that would delay the whole project until it is done. And then I also talked to the folks we use at Tri-Lakes, EOR, environmental, they're environmental engineers, and they also do this kind of stuff. And they're not real crazy about solar farms, but they did say they could work on something like this for us as well.
Well,
so
at least if they
they're available.
If they reviewed the reports that were submitted and look for things that are obvious errors,
Yeah.
that would indicate, yeah, these reports have been used, 3 dozen times in different, and they're not changed.
Yep.
Here they are, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. Well, there you go.
Yeah. And again, all the reports that were done on all the other sites are public knowledge. They're all on the site on the ERF site. So, I mean, everything's available. So we'd have to do it'd be some work to get the reports and then start looking at them and say, well, yeah, they're just rubber stamping them and sending them on. More than likely, that's what was happening. I did look at two of the ones and they're, Jesus, almost similar. Same people, same information. Interesting. Same data.
You know, Carl,
Different areas.
from what Denise says, if this is right, and I believe she's right because she just Googled it,
Well,
if we can do the appeals to the circuit court, which is in Adams County, a judge could put a stay pending the outcome. And this could, and if he refuses to make a decision, this could be kicked all the way up to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And all these things that we're talking about, these issues, you present it to the court. You don't present it to the PSC. The PSC already told us what they think.
Yeah.
We have to find a neutral person to adjudicate this. And I think we should start in the circuit court.
Well, we'll start where the lawyer tells us we start. Okay.
Okay.
He's our expert.
All right.
Somebody else come on.
I'm just saying we can't go back to the
Has
PSC.
Akron talked to our lawyer yet? Since this,
We're not in contact with him. Since we're litigants more or less at this point, there's no
and
contact.
I think, I think they, I'm not gonna say anything at this moment.
I mean, I was looking at.
I really want to know what you're thinking, though, Tim.
Yeah, me too.
Can you give me at least a piece of what you're thinking so I can let my imagination go?
Ruling is the ruling. We have to accept it at the moment. Can we do more? We listed quite a bit. There's a possibility that maybe we should open talks.
No.
Like, listen to me. Like the county did already. They've already, when I talked to them back in January or December, they were already making plans that if this thing goes forward, we should have an idea what we can do to help the community if it did go forward, what we can get out of this.
You have a choice. You either go for a JDA or you fight them. You don't. There's no in between.
I'm just saying, we're
Well,
gonna be spending some taxpayers' money.
Exactly. That's why.
We're gonna have an annual meeting next month, and I wanna hear from the public what they wanna do with their money.
Yep.
That is a big deal.
When is that public meeting going to be, please?
It's April 21st, is it?
21st.
Okay.
At what time?
6 o'clock at night.
Annual meeting.
I want the public out there to listen and be there and give us the direction they want us to do further. Because this has gone on a long time. We fought hard, but I just want to know. I'll fight hard for you. I will. I just want to make sure that I'm fighting for you because you want us to now.
That's why it's going to be it's already on the agenda for the meeting. I already told her to put it on there.
Good.
so.
Good.
I kind
I
of
think we
feel,
have to stop it before they put a shovel in the ground. Once they stick a shovel in the ground, it's over.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But we can't discuss anything with them while we're in litigation. That's just, you can't do it.
Okay.
So the JDA is out of the question at this moment.
All right.
so we either have to say we are with you and this is what we want out of it.
Yeah.
Or we have to fight against them. We can't
Right.
be doing, we can't be.
There's no
fighting
in
both sides
between.
of the same-
No.
And I kind of heard, I hear where you're going with that, Tim, but I kind of remember back to the meeting we had, here in the town hall, where the people there were the
I did hear that.
constituents,
Yes.
said, hey, let's fight this. Hey, can we start a bank?
Yep.
A
Right.
funding where,
And we all were for that, and we've fought hard. We spent the money on whatever we did already with the lawyer and signs and petitions and everything else. Look, they made a ruling, it's tough to accept, but maybe we should just be on the backside thinking about things to help our community if it goes forward. Just saying, just in case. Right now, it sounds like it's going forward, but we can do things to maybe possibly set it back and not go forward with it. But let's be prepared, that's all I'm asking. Let's be
When does
prepared.
the federal funding go away? Does anybody know?
We need
Because
to
the federal
confirm-
funding
there's
is,
two things we need to confirm. Number one is when is the deadline for that federal funding? That has to be confirmed. Two is when are they planning on starting? When are they planning on sticking that shovel in the ground? Because if they do say they're gonna stick that shovel in the ground at the end of May or the middle of June, well, then what they testified to and what they submitted in their application is false, because they said they weren't gonna start until November of 2026.
Yeah.
That's when they said the project would start, and it was gonna be done over the winter, because that's when they said that they were going to protect all of our endangered species, which is a crock of bullshit, pardon my French. But, they're not going to protect anything. They're pacifying people to make it sound like we've got a plan. And without having some other expert to testify against them on that regard, we're powerless. But that's in writing. And if there's nothing else that's in writing that we can't find that's wrong, that would be in writing if they're planning on starting before November, because I did read that in their application.
Yeah, the one they filed on April 9th, 2025 was 161 pages, and that was pretty much everything in there. So, and there's a lot of bad information, put it that way.
But I mean, if they said they're going to start in May or June or July or whatever, then something has to go back to someone to look at the environmental impact, because they're not doing what they said they were going to do. But I mean, we do need to confirm when the federal grant money goes away.
Yeah. I'll have,
know who can-
we'll be talking to Stan a lot about that on Thursday, so.
The meeting with Stan is just for the county board, correct? And
No, it's a town board meeting.
But that's a
So kind of what, next steps and possibilities. He'll give us, he'll outline what we can and can't do.
but that's a closed door meeting,
It's
correct?
closed door, yeah.
Yeah.
Attorney-client privilege.
Yeah.
That's why, I mean, you got suggestions, we'll bring up with them.
Is there any way we can keep all semi-traffic off of the Akrons?
No. Well, weight limits and things, but you can't stop them from working on their job site. You can stop through traffic with trucks, but as far as working on the job site, no. We can put limits on there, though.
Okay.
here's a question you're not going to want to hear, but I'll ask it anyways. Have we protected ourselves around the other, 360 around Rome to see that another one can't start up somewhere? Have we changed?
Well, we can't
or
stop.
done something?
A solar farm, we can't stop, obviously, at this point. Same with the windmills. However, on this Thursday board meeting, we do have on there about restrictions as far as data centers. So that's a start.
Well, the one thing that's still here that's not going to go away is those transmission lines.
Yeah, we can't
That's
stop
a big
that.
magnet for these guys because they don't have to tunnel under, miles and miles and miles of dirt to put their lines in. So this, we've got already two
Yeah.
that direction. What about there and there and there?
That one would really be tough. The one's already gone through, everything's approved, and that's where they're taking some of their data off. That's where they ran across the butterflies, and that's what the data they're using. Well, they found them over there, so we may have them over here. That was their point, which is nonsense.
Once they get 2,400 acres, what's going to stop them 2 years to 3 years from now going
We got,
to put in another 1,000 acres?
well, we start buying some of that land somehow and getting it into conservation. You do it here, you do it in different pieces, so there's nothing there for them.
Carl, I was looking at some of the suggestions we have here about speed bumps and putting weight restrictions. And I have to ask this question. Is this going to be applicable to all construction in town? Because if we don't do that,
No.
we're going to be opening up a Pandora's box.
No, just those specific roads. Those are brand new roads. They're going to tear them up. They weren't built for the traffic expected to come through there. We'll have an engineer verify all that, but again, we'll do what we can do. Some we can, some we
Right,
can't.
I mean,
So,
if you're going to sit back and limit Akron, and let's just say Sand Valley is putting on a big project and they have carte blanche to do whatever they want to do, that's going to be a problem. Do you follow where I'm going here?
no,
I understand what you're saying.
I know what you're trying to say,
Let me
but no,
explain it because
no.
Basically, if you're doing this for one, are you going to do it for other people?
exactly.
Coming in doing construction.
Is it applicable?
Applicable.
Otherwise, you're going to open up a Pandora's box.
What I mentioned before was a heavy traffic coming down Akron trying to turn on to 13. Okay, that's one issue. The other one is a brand new roads. Both of those are very new roads. They weren't built for the heavy traffic they expect to come through there, so weight limits could apply. Anything else we got going on is nothing of this magnitude. That's our defense.
Well, what would happen if they set the weight limit? We're going to get an engineer, right?
Yep.
As you and I discussed. Okay, we're going to get an engineer, our own engineer, who's going to say the weight limit should be X. And and we find out that Akron finds out that half their equipment will not be able to go down those roads because of that weight limit. How will they get around that?
They'll have to use smaller trucks. They'll have to dump and pour or go on the field and drive all the way down the field.
Where are they going to, they'll just put a road in off of 13.
Good luck with that.
An access
No, they
road.
won't get a road. You can't put a road in.
Well,
You can't put your own road in,
they'll put a driveway in.
maybe. If
Driveway
they'll-
in that gets them off the road and then into the,
Yeah, that'll take a while with the state, but
what about the trees? How are they going to dispose of the trees? I know we had a brief discussion about that once.
I mean, I would imagine
Take
they're
them and they couldn't burn them.
they might try and burn them. They might send them to the mill. I have no idea. The mill can only handle so many at a time too. And if they plan on clear cutting, I have no idea where they're going to go with all of them.
I did read, just for, has nothing to do with getting rid of the farm, but I did read Petenwell Dam is 30 megawatts. This is 200 megawatts. That gives you some sizes of scale and why this is so attractive. Because they built a dam that's only capable of producing 30 megawatts. It probably cost, by today's numbers, billions and billions of dollars. But now they got a cheap solar farm. Anything else that you want to share with us as far as?
I'm
your
also
ideas?
preparing a letter to the editor for Milwaukee Journal, and I'm naming names. I'm putting all three of the three PSC members. Their names will be in the article. Just tell them that basically, why are we allowing three unelected bureaucrats to determine what's our town's going to look like for the next 30 years? The
Well, you should
destruction they're
also
going to cause.
include her comment too, that Denise's comment that the governor's office said that there's nothing that he can do about the PSC.
I think I'm limited to 350 words. I'm at 370 now, and I'm trying to refine it. But there's so much in there. Again, I don't think they realize that in 30 or 40 years, they're going to have one hell of a hazmat site cleanup. It's going to be a Superfund site when they get done with it because there's so many of these solar farms in the state. But they're all going to come due at the same time. They're all going to expire, and they're going to sit there, what do we do with hundreds of thousands of panels?
And the
Nobody's
state's
thinking
going to
about
have
that.
to come up with the cash for that.
Yep,
they're
and
gonna
these
get it from
three
taxes.
these three clowns in Madison are the ones that are setting all this up without any regard for what's going to happen in the future. And if the governor wants that for his legacy, that's I'm trying to get the wording in there just so for that. So
Yeah.
Did we arrive at a number on the bond?
no, we'll have to talk to Stan about that.
Because the $1 million isn't going to cover it.
Oh, it won't be millions; it'll be in billions. But again, if we can ask, doesn't mean they'll have to do it. We don't have any leverage.
So the
That's
PSC,
one thing they did mention in the final report, or the,
Yeah, how much? What did they mention? How
they
much?
didn't mention much.
Right.
But they said they would be working with,
Right.
they'd be willing to work with their town.
Yeah. Of course.
Saying
Just saying. Yeah. Just we'll work with
If
you.
they sell it,
Wink,
are
wink,
they still
nod, nod.
responsible?
They did say if it got sold, it'd have to be carried on to the next person's responsibility. They did say that.
Well, the bond would be covered on the front side. You got to pay for the bond going out. So,
They did say that.
but again, they didn't say how much.
Right.
But then what if they go under?
It doesn't matter. It's paid on the front side.
Yeah.
We've already got
The money's put up. You got to buy a bond. You don't just say I'm going to have it.
Okay.
That's how a bond works. You put the money out there, it grows and it covers it. You get a bonding agency, they're the ones that cover it. It's an insurance, basically an insurance policy, prepaid.
and not
Right.
that we can cover everything, but, as we've kind of learned going through this process, that they're sold and sold and sold again. And I know that the one in Saratoga has been sold 3 times in 3 years, and, they say, I'm concerned also about the UTV and ATV and snowmobile trails. And they say, we'll work with you, we work with you. And we've already had on a short-term basis, the Saratoga one that went in, that when, the people from our snowmobile club met with them, talked with them, yes, this is what we're gonna do, and then the next people came through and they said, well, that's not what we decided, that's what you decided with them. And then the talk started all over again. And then they sold it a 3rd time, and the talk started all over again.
It'd have to be in writing or something, just, it'd have to be.
Is it enforceable? Once it changes hands, yeah, that's a problem.
About Michigan, where they come in and this is just one farmer leased out 700 acres. I just read this. Leased out 700 acres, $2,000 per acre. solar farm was put in. 2 years after the solar farm was put in, it filed bankruptcy. A new company came in, took it over. They come in and said, we're giving you $150 an acre. That's all we can give you. And he's stuck. The guy's dead. He had a heart attack. He couldn't operate his, can't function. He had other 700 acres. He had 1,400 acres.
And again, NextEra, well, you asked them how many they operate. They built hundreds of these things, but they only operate 3 or 4. They're in it for the money. Again, you're getting a 25% return on their. That's out of the Edgar SEC site, by the way. It's their actual data. I mean, 25%. I'd be convicted of Ponzi schemes if I came up with that.
Well, it's not uncommon for private equity to have that kind of return. That's why it's out there.
It's not a private equity. It's supposed to be an
I know.
energy company.
I don't know, but I mean, that's how.
6 and 7% would be more realistic.
Does the state of Wisconsin have any regulations? Let's say a storm comes through here and rips them all up. What's the regulation that the state has for them cleaning that up? The contamination? What stops them from, we're out of here?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, what typically would probably happen is if there was some sort of leakage that got into the groundwater, they'd have to test for that. And if they tested for that and they found out that there were hazardous chemicals in our water supply, then the water supply would be somehow deemed to be unusable. Then the lawsuits start. And I think at some point in time, the PSC would have to be named in those lawsuits as well, because they approved it despite the fact that we had shown them that there were concerns about that. Just like if there's a fire and we have to evacuate the town, and Sand Valley and everybody else and animals and everything else, who's going to pay for all that? That's why, we said that we needed to have a pretty good sized bond, because they are an LLC. So if they come away with a $10 or $15 million bond, that's nothing. That's nothing. That's a decimal point error in their returns. It's nothing to them, and so we have to push really hard for a realistic bond. And if something were to happen, and again, as I said in my dissertation, if the risk is that low, then the bond shouldn't cost that much.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I think
Shouldn't the
you're
state have something in play with all these solar farms? That this is what, some regulation? I mean, couldn't we have a lawsuit saying the state's gotta have before any of these projects can go through with all the other communities that they're coming into and doing this stuff to? If we all came together and said, you can't move on these things until the state comes up with something.
Well, what's going to happen is, the reason that they haven't is because 25, 30 years hasn't gone by since they put the first one in. When they find out that date comes, and they have to start dismantling one or replacing it or doing whatever they're going to do to it, that's when everybody's going to start looking at what did we do here? Because then when the first one falls, then the next one and the next one, and guess what? These all came about in the last
Very quickly.
couple of years. It's all going to happen all at once, and then the state's going to go, oh my gosh, what did we do? Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Surely.
Okay. My name is Tim Schumacher. I'm the FireWise coordinator for Lake Camelot.
Can we get you a microphone?
Come on up here, Tim. Grab. Is that microphone on over there? Oh, you got it.
On there. Thanks, Tim.
This is, since we're required to televise this,
Sure.
they won't hear you unless you have a mic.
Right. My name is Tim Schumacher. I'm the FireWise coordinator for Lake Camelot. And one thing that no one's really touched on, except for Carl did a little bit, is that one thing that's unique about this area is that we are listed in the top 10 for fire hazards and wildfires. We've been trying now for the last couple of years, in the position I'm in, to try to clean up some of this, and we're not doing a dent. If this thing should go through, talking with our fire chief and some of the rangers from the DNR, the best thing we can do is evacuate, because you can't use water to put out electrical fire. You can't use foam. Plus, foam is a PFAS. Thank you. And that just adds more pollution to our groundwater and our lakes. And it's going to take forever to clean that up if we can clean it up. I lost my train of thought. But it's uncanny that they even got this far.
Several people testified to that. I don't know if you were able to make the hearings or not.
I made a couple of them. I was there.
A lot of comments made, and according to the PSC, yep, we read all of them because they weren't there. They had to have it all transcribed. And the judge told me that he would absolutely confirm that they will receive the transcriptions of the entire day, but he couldn't guarantee me they were going to read them all. And there were comments in there. I know Mark couldn't testify, but I think Wayne went up there and did some stuff. We did talk about that, and it was in a lot of the information that we presented that day. But apparently, it didn't make any difference to the PSC.
So the chemical plume that would be created by these fires, being that they're so hot and they're going to burn so long because you basically have to let them burn out. What's going to happen to everything else that's around here? I mean, the trees, the ground, everything's going to be covered with this toxic whatever's burning. And there's not a whole lot we can do about it.
The only thing that we can do, and we already did, was to ask for a very large bond, because Akron is an LLC. So if this were to happen and they couldn't afford the cost of cleaning it up, they would just file bankruptcy and move on. That's why we need the bond.
So in the event that something like this should happen, do we have any plans on evacuating our community? Would we be able to do it in an orderly fashion, or is it just going to be a mess, bigger than a mess?
It'd be a mess unless the town decided to take it upon themselves to create some sort of a...
County emergency services come into effect and they make a plan.
The other thing too, I think it was Amy from the DNR, she did testify in our favor and mentioned that, being in the top 10%, it really wasn't a good location here for this kind of operation.
Yeah, I know Amy real well, so I work with her also.
Yeah.
But I think that if this goes through, unfortunately, if it does, I think we really need to look on doing some kind of evacuation for the community, letting people know that it's not safe to go outside, and the whole ball of wax.
Yeah, there's been, I think it was Moss Landing in California, they had to evacuate like 1,200 people just in the general area. And I forgot how far they were going out. They said it could go miles depending on how the wind's going.
I thought they said it at like 25 miles.
Something like that, yeah.
25 miles.
Yeah, it could be.
Most of our winds here are northwest, so they were going to blow right down.
Yeah.
It's going to come right here.
All right, thank you.
And then they lied and said nothing was contaminated
Yeah.
until a year later.
Yeah. Well, again, the only EPA measured the hydrogen cyanide, but that was like 3 days after the fact, and then they weren't testing for anything else in the meantime. But there's a lot more chemicals coming out of there. I mean, I got a whole laundry list of toxins that would come out of the fire.
Well, that article that you sent, Gary, I believe it was you, the Indiana, the pictures of the solar farm that got trashed with the storm. You sent it. Did you send the article or did you post it on, I think on Facebook or something about was it Indiana where the solar farm was totally destroyed by a storm?
Yeah, Gary put it out
Or
there.
the other one, the
No,
Tornado.
Tornado.
I think it was in Jasper.
tornado.
It was in Jasper.
So that is going to be a litmus test, if you will, because they're not going to get it cleaned up before it rains the first time to see if there's any chemicals that come out. Those panels were trash. They were just...
Did you see the other panels with all the hail damage?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole, everything is
They're
trash.
fractured, so that means that the first rain, if there's any chemicals in there that are not completely, totally encapsulated in the manufacturing process, they're gonna leach into the ground, and you can bet that somebody's gonna be over there checking for that. And if that happens, that'll be part of public record too about the dangers of the solar farm. Won't help us in time, and hopefully it's not gonna be that bad, but I think we talked about how fast our groundwater moves, so if there was a contamination there, it would get into our groundwater down here fairly quickly.
That's why I say I don't think there should be any solar farms built until the state comes up with a plan. They're not even looking at that.
Nope.
And how many tornadoes go through Wisconsin? How many hailstorms do we get in Wisconsin?
Look at the snowstorm we just had.
Yeah.
What would 2 feet of snow on top of the panels do?
In the air with the chemicals to make the weather come in. The same people who want solar farms are the same ones that are spraying the air that want to block the sunlight from coming in.
I don't know, anybody else have any other comments? Thoughts? Carl, can you give us some timelines of, you're gonna have a board meeting on Thursday, and Stan is going to be there?
Well, he's going to call us. He's going to be in Hawaii, but he's going to call us. We'll be on the
Okay,
phone with him.
but we can't be there because it's
No,
closed
right.
session. Okay. So then hopefully we can get some kind of an update from you after the meeting, or from
Yeah.
somebody.
Yep.
Should we meet for that update so that the community can find out?
I'll talk to Jeff and let him know what we're coming up with and see what we
Okay.
can do. Because it might be a timeline too, and we may have to do the appeal and wait on that too. I don't know. See how long that process takes. So, and I do need to get some more information back from Stan as far as this funding when it stops and start and all that crap. So. However, the open records request, I'm going to do that very soon. It's going to be everybody.
So the annual meeting that's scheduled for, you said April 21st
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock?
Yep.
On the agenda of that meeting, there'll be this, I would assume.
Yep.
How are we going to inform all the residents of that particular meeting so that they can all feel like they know? I mean,
The meeting's publicized in the paper 2 weeks prior to it.
okay.
It'll be on Facebook, it'll be on our website, it'll be
Community advocate.
anywhere we can get it, it will be.
Okay. It's just that throughout all this whole thing, the one thing we learned is people don't look at Facebook, they don't look at the newspaper, they don't look at.
Well, we had pretty good
That's all we
attendance.
can do. I know.
We had pretty good attendance last year when we had our 2 open meetings. So get the word out there. They'll show up. But it's their call. I mean, what do we want to do? You know, pay me now, pay me later.
Do we have any action items, anything that we need to do for?
Just next steps.
Well, I am gonna,
Anything?
I do want to have a discussion with Carl about this particular ad hoc group, whether or not we should continue. Because the first thing is, every time we have a meeting, it's televised. I don't think any of us knew that coming into it. So if we would have organized as just a group of concerned citizens, we wouldn't have a title of a committee that was arranged by the board. So that's a discussion that I think that the board needs to have about whether or not we should continue. And then if we break up this group because we're basically on the other side of the decision, we could still meet as a concerned group of citizens, but not have an ad hoc committee that was appointed by the board.
Didn't we, in December, at the last meeting, say we were done, we closed this out?
We did not. We had a closed session, but we said that we were going to wait until we were going to wait for the next meeting until we got the decision from the PSC. So this is that meeting.
And the board has to.
The board should dissolve
It
it
has to
then. Yeah.
dissolve us. That
I
doesn't
mean, when we
mean,
televise it, we're giving them the playbook. Here's what we're
That's,
doing,
oh, I haven't shared everything.
you know?
Yeah.
I get that, but I mean, all the other meetings, here's the playbook, and they're always one step ahead of us.
there's nothing stopping us to have just a concerned citizen group, that we're not a committee, we're not part of the town of Rome. We're just people that live here that have some concerns that want to talk about stuff. There's nothing that prevents us from doing that.
And open it up to the public. Everybody that wants to come to it, I mean,
Well, they'll send somebody.
But yeah, I mean, let's get us off of the books, and we can still help. I think we still have all people that are calling and people that are getting feedback from different people. I think we can still help, and if we have something to collectively present to the board, we can come to a board meeting and present that one.
Yeah, one of the other things I was going to push with Stan too is that they've opened 31 of these 100 megawatts or better, and then we got the 9,500. I mean, we got so many of them coming in. I don't believe any of them have done a single environmental impact study, not a one. I was starting to look at them and I could not find any.
None of them have an
I
EIS?
didn't see any.
Well,
I haven't seen them all yet, but I can't find any.
One of
Yeah.
our options still remains a class action lawsuit against the PSC. And I know that Carl's had conversations with Jan about that, but, you know, I'm certain that all the 30 other towns would sign on to that. What the relief would be, I don't know, because we can't, I don't think we can ask for relief to be legislation that's not there. That has to go through the legislative process, but in our case, what we could do, and anybody else that signed on, it could have somebody look at the, not necessarily an appeal, but look at all the, shall we say, the discrepancies in some of the reporting, and the fact that the EIS wasn't done, in fact, that they ignored the fire concerns that we have. They ignored the fact we don't have a big fire department here. They've ignored the fact that we're in a high fire area. All the dangers, those could come to play and force the PSC to come back and look again, and then force the PSC potentially to require an EIS for any one of these going forward, and anything else we can think of to throw in there.
But we need the lawyer to get involved with that.
Yeah.
We do. 'Cause I'm sorry, my feelings towards this lawyer isn't done justice enough for us, my personal opinion.
His hands are tied in some respects. He can only move as fast as they do, so.
I know.
And he's considered one of the top guys in the state as far as this goes.
Okay.
And he's the town's board? I mean, the town's lawyer, or?
This is what they do. It's municipal law and litigation, and this is what they do. He's handled several of these. So, again, he did tell us on the front side our chances are 1/2 of 1%. He did say we're a little better after what we've been through, and he said he hasn't seen anything like this, what we've done. But he did say, he still said, before the decision came down, he still says, you know, it's probably not going to happen. He said, but they've given us a lot of ammunition to go after him with that he hasn't had in other towns. Again, they're picking on small towns that don't have resources, and they're letting them, you know, getting their way with them. So he said they haven't had much opposition.
Yeah, that was part of my discussion with the governor's office, that they're doing this to small communities that don't have the wherewithal.
If this was one solar company doing all of this, we'd have a lot better chance.
Yeah.
But if you notice, it's a whole bunch of them, because they all read the memo that you free money from the
Yeah.
U.S. government. Let's go get it.
There's 3 big ones in the state that are doing it, and
But are they not connected, or
They're
could
not
they
connected, no.
actually
They're
be
not connected.
connected behind the paper?
no, they're not connected. And then there's 3 other companies that are buying them up and operating them, like Alliance has got Saratoga and ones like that. Akron probably is a short-term thing. It's a fill-in. They're going to sell to somebody else.
And why is it, you know, the big question that I've had since this all started, why is it that the energy companies, We Energies, whoever, Alliance,
They're one of them.
they can't build solar farm?
They are not
Permitting
allowed.
process.
Right.
Why is it so different?
This is a
from
loop.
everybody else?
It's a loophole to allow companies like Nextera to come in, build these, and then sell them to the people that can't build them. Why? Go ask the politicians.
That could be part of that class action lawsuit as well.
Goes to who puts money in the
Yeah.
palms of whose hands?
Has our lawyer seen anything that they filed that he's seen that, you know, talk to you about? I mean, you don't have to say anything here, but has he seen something that don't look right?
He questions some of the data they turned in as well. I mean, he came back with some of the stuff we brought, and he said, no, they have some errors in their in the holes, basically holes in their stories too, in some of the cases. So he's aware of some of them. He's also looking at other towns that they've done. Forgot the one he's working on right now. One of the towns, and they've got they may have a solid case, but still doesn't mean they'll win. But
I got another question, if I can. Thank you. The other thing I was thinking, being that, the fire risks are so high, is there any way we can have them sink some wells so that we can have hydrants out there to fight a fire?
they're going to put wells in, but it's for cleaning and other things. I don't know if it'll be strong enough for a hydrant. You know, you need
So
a 6
how
inch.
would we fight these fires then, just with pumpers?
We're not going to fight a fire. I mean,
You can't use water, Tim.
I know, but you still got to be able to cool down the equipment that's alongside it, or a collection site, or anything like that.
Well,
You're
that's
still
what they
gonna have
want.
to use water.
they want us to sit there and cool it down, but I don't know if I'd expose the firemen to the toxic fumes if there's something going there.
So that one safety director said they only need one fire truck.
Yeah,
He said that in that,
yeah.
they only need one fire truck, so.
Yeah, but we have no
Their own damn fire truck.
hydrants that they can hook up to anywhere close to that area. Did you have?
So what happens to the value of our homes? What happens if this starts on fire and it leaves the area, gets to our homes? We lose our homes. Has anybody found out that if we get this solar field, is our homeowners insurance going to go up? Because now we're going to be in a higher risk area?
I did check with my insurance man about that, and he didn't feel that I needed to worry about an increase, about it coming in. But he did say, because I wondered about coverage, then if we have a circumstance where there is a fire, you know, are we going to be covered? Because I'm close, and he said, absolutely, your home is going to be covered for the damages. But then we will sue who owns it. The insurance industry will sue the solar owners. I don't believe the insurance policy premiums won't go up. I don't believe that for 10 seconds, but that was his opinion.
And what's to say that when this happens to another community, that the insurance industry doesn't say, well, wait a second, just like they did in California with all the fires? How many people no longer have insurance coverage?
Well, you look at what happened to us with our insurance premiums here because of the tornadoes. Because of all the roofs that were replaced in the hailstorms and the tornadoes, all of our premiums for insurance went up.
You're right, though. That'll happen. If there is a fire someplace around a solar farm and the insurance companies get wind of the whole thing about what the total ramifications are, there could be an increase in any of the communities surrounding a solar farm.
And we have to find out if this is going to benefit us as homeowners, being with the value of our homes. Is this going to be still a hot spot to come to? And if it's not, what's that going to do to our property values?
Our property values are going to drop.
They stated that there's no change to property values. That was on their testimony. Some expert
okay,
they had out
then-
of Minnesota
then
that
they're just gonna
never
go up,
stepped
right?
foot here. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely addressed that, Deb. We definitely addressed it.
However, our local agents did say that they would have to notify people that if they're buying or selling property here, that they would have to notify them that there's a solar farm going in. So what does that tell you? We've already had two people, it's just anecdotal, but two people said one's not going to buy and one's not going to build because of the solar farm.
Yeah, I'm Dick Wilkes. I just got a couple of thoughts after listening to all this. The first comment was about why Romal. I think you answered it later on when you talked about the transmission lines. It's so close for them to tie into the grid. That's why they're here.
Yep.
Another thing is that we're talking about the money they made. I was at some of the meetings and some property owner asked the question, are federal tax dollars available for this? Are going to be used for this? And the answer was, just like any project like this, the tax dollars are available. Well, we all know they're going to be used. Now, if I understand this right, this company comes in, builds a solar farm, runs it until they can find a buyer, and then they move on. So that buyer, my question is, and I think I know the answer, all those tax dollars now become their profit.
Yep. For Nextera, for the builder.
There's no paying back the government.
No. About up to half of the whole project is covered by grants.
Right, so it's
Which
the
is our money.
taxpayers giving them their profit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, another thing that was brought up about this April meeting, I think you really need to go all out to get everybody informed about this. If it takes we got everybody's address, if it takes a special mailing
Oh, yeah, we'll do a mailing, yeah.
to every property owner, okay.
Yeah, we did that, what was that one? We sent 4,000 cards out, I think it was. Yeah, yeah, we
Okay,
sent
yeah,
that out
'cause if you're
earlier.
looking to get people to back spending money, they're
Yeah.
gonna have to know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think that's all I had. A lot of good thoughts. I wish everybody well, but I think we're screwed.
It's an uphill fight, we know that. Yeah, but it's,
But if we don't fight,
yeah,
we definitely lose.
yeah. Yeah.
We'd love them to say, you know what, we're just sick of you, Rome. We're done with you, we'll move on. I mean, that'd be our
And like I told Carl as we walked in here, there's been legislation now proposed in Wisconsin and nationwide with these data things that they have to provide their own power supply on premise. And I think if that passes here and nationally, that's going to relieve the pressure on local power companies with their forecasts for what they're going to have to build for future power. So if they don't have to add on to theirs, maybe that'll give us some relief. You know, I wouldn't mind solar if they're going to put a data farm or data, whatever they call them in here. If they have to put the data or the solar farm on their own premise, pay for it, fine. I don't care. But we're not paying for it.
Well, they're not going to get enough power from a solar farm to run one of those.
Well, then maybe they need to do nuclear. Maybe they do
They'd have to do
conventional.
something else.
But they're paying for it. That's the point.
Yep.
Yeah,
Rather than the Alliant or whatever having to forecast that future growth that we pay for.
Yeah, they're putting a data center in southeast Wisconsin somewhere, but they're backing it up with a natural gas power plant. This solar's not going to do it. These things are.
But it's all on site?
I'm sorry.
It's all on the.
That I don't know.
Well, that's what the proposed legislation is, and I think that's the greatest idea I've heard lately.
Yeah, you want it, you pay for it. Yeah.
Has anybody else had feedback from their membership on the ad hoc committee? From it being televised?
I do get calls and things and
Just
letters.
family and friends. that-
I've had a lot of feedback from absolute strangers about the ad hoc meetings and my participation. And I'm thinking there's two sides of dissolution of the ad hoc committee. But the side that we haven't talked about, because I know we're limited in what we want to say because we don't want to give them our playbook, but it makes it part of the community, what's happening in the community. When it's noticed, they can watch the ad hoc committee meetings, they can become more informed, like the April 21st meeting's going to occur. And if we look at the board dissolution of the ad hoc committee, we won't have that advantage.
Well,
just-
if we dissolve the ad hoc, most of the decisions then would go to a JD or something. That would all be handled with the board. So that'll be all board activity, not so much here. So
We could still,
our-
we could still just be a group of concerned
Yeah.
citizens. We could meet here,
have ideas.
have ideas, and then we would forward those to the board at a board meeting.
So to
Oh,
tell the
okay.
public, yes.
All right, so
Yes.
we can still make it a public matter. It's just we'd be doing it at a different meeting and a different time.
Wouldn't have to go through all the formalities that we always go through.
I'm going to throw a plug in here too. If you haven't been on Channel 300 lately, Robbie and Jason did an upgrade there, and it's now there's PSAs running on there, and it's much better. So, and they're
Is
still working on
there
it.
is there a schedule of when you can watch the town board meetings on there?
Website, and I'll verify that that's there when it got converted over, I guess.
That I haven't seen on 300 prior to.
Say that again.
So we historically have, because we had to change the servers, we have to take all that historic data and move it to this new server. We are uploading all those older meetings. I believe plan commissions out there right now and the board meetings are repeating on Channel 300. We are in the process of getting all the rest of the meetings out there so that we can get them on a repeating schedule, which appears on our website. And I'll make sure that it's there because we had an upgrade in our website and we lost some stuff, so I'll verify that that schedule is put back out there.
Okay, thank you.
How do we get Channel 300?
Do you have Solaris?
If you don't have Solaris, Solaris is Channel 300.
Yeah, you just
Although-
punch in 300.
With Solaris internet. I didn't know they had anything else.
TV?
Oh, you don't have their TV?
Cable. But you can watch it on our website. It's
Okay.
right on our website also.
Okay.
Thank you.
So are we making a dissolution of this committee?
We'll have to go, the board will have to, we'll have to do it through the board.
Do you want me to have it on the agenda before we post it today?
You haven't posted it yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, go ahead, put it on there. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Board, take it up then.
And the board meeting's this Thursday?
Yes.
Okay, anybody have anything else they want to say or talk about?
Just thank you to all of the members of the, committee. I really appreciate the opportunity to have been a part of this group. Thank you much for all your efforts and work.
And Stan was amazed at what you guys were able to do. He was amazed.
Well, I still stand by my offer. If we win this thing, they'll have a party at my house. But right now, I'm not going to buy anything for it.
No, I wouldn't either, but we'll see.
We could always make it a cry party.
A couple of other things too, though, is that again they blew us off with our doing the environmental impact study as well as the economic impact study. Those are totally blown off. So, I mean, we've got so much recourse against these clowns, and I do mean clowns,
Well,
but
the interesting thing, if they haven't done an EIS on any of
that's a
these,
big one.
I want to know who in the Wisconsin Senate is responsible for oversight of that Public Service Commission. Now that I read that information on Google, boy, I'm going to be calling Mr. Tiffany's office. Yeah,
why don't you call Scott? Ask him, because what?
because it says Senate. They have to report
Right now,
to the Senate.
Bill 3 is what they're working on. SB 3 will give it the authority into the towns, but it won't pass it soon enough for us.
What's the makeup of the Senate right now, in the state Senate? Anybody know?
I know we're stuck with Tiffany.
Or liberal. I mean,
It's mostly, I mean, the Republicans control it, but I think they'd have to override Evers because he probably wouldn't sign it.
well, that's okay, but I mean
Yeah.
that may be part of their strategy to wait. And hopefully, they get a different governor,
Yeah.
maybe a conservative governor that might side with them. That's probably
Let's go back to, it goes back to 2009. That was Doyle signed off on it back then. It was just nuts. Why would you give these people that kind of authority? Nuts.
Why didn't this start off as a local zoning issue?
They overrode it. According to the PSC, none of our zoning would apply. Whatever they wanted, they got.
That makes no sense.
True.
true.
It makes no sense. They have authority to override anything we put out there as far as ordinance and zonings. Not everything, but in some cases. The wellhead protection zone is going to be one that they can't, the PSA has no authority over. So that's one of our long shots, but we'll see.
So anybody else wants to come into town and build a factory, they have to get it rezoned,
Yeah,
but they
Yeah.
can do whatever they want.
yeah. Yeah, the legislature gave them that authority to do pretty much whatever they want. That's why the record's now 31-0. If you're less than 100 megawatts, then the town has authority. This one's 200.
Why would they have it if they're less than 100, but if they're more than 100, then you don't? That just really sucks.
The size, the amount of acreage.
Yeah.
You know.
We do have some ordinances involved for small home units and all that the plan commissions have come up with. So the smaller ones, the one in Grand Rapids, I think that's only like 30 or 35 megawatts, something like that. It's not real big. It's only like in 10 acres, something.
Do you have any idea, since we're number 31 and we're 2,000 acres, the other 30 times how many acres are tied up?
Oh, God.
with solar?
Well, according to their projections, what they would need in the state of Wisconsin to do what they want to do, it'd be over 200,000 acres total in the state of Wisconsin alone. The one in Plover is going to be 9,500 acres, but that's in addition to 2,000 acres that are already here. Ours and another 2,500, I think, just north of us. And then you got Grant. I mean, it's crazy.
Supposedly, and I don't know who we heard this from, but we did hear it, that Evers had pledged to 200 megawatts, or 2,000 megawatts of solar power in Wisconsin. So that would be 10 of these. They gotta be getting pretty close to that, because I don't know how big the other ones all are, but that's why this one they were gonna fight so hard on, because it was the biggest so far, 200 megawatts. That's 10% of that whole amount that he pledged to. I don't know who he pledged
Well,
that
he
to.
pledged to go carbon-free by 2050, so it's gonna take a lot more than that. But, yeah, his legacy's not gonna be solar power, it's gonna be a disaster trying to get everything cleaned up.
Yep.
There are a lot of us that won't be around for that, and those we've left behind are going to wonder why we allowed it, why we let it happen.
Well, at least they'll also be able to look in the records and find out that we certainly fought.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, again, I've heard from a lot of other towns, they've seen our newscasts, and again, the media has always been helpful in some cases, but that's politicians and companies do not like bad press. That's one of the things we've been pushing. Make sure to get as much bad press as possible. And I'm going to start leaning on the politicians and the PSC. All three of their names are going to be in the article. We'll see if they print it, but I think they will. Sumner. No, never mind.
I'll just be happy that it's not windmills. Yet,
They're getting those up north. Yeah.
that wind we had the other night, I don't know, if it's around 50 miles an hour. That's a lot of wind. Okay, anybody else?
It's funny, if you read the state statutes on state forests, they list the reasons why it cannot be used as a solar farm.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's all I had.
Anybody else have any other comments? I'll entertain a motion then to adjourn if somebody wants to make it.
Motion to
second.
adjourn?
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Guys, for what you've done for us.
Thank you for your support.
Positive.
Wished it could have been more.